Have you noticed?
So Jules set this up purposely, right?
Dude, bro, I need you to, like, you don't even understand. So, Pablo, please go ahead, brother. Louis, please go
I'm
ahead.
setting this up.
Yo, but I told you both it was coming.
So,
Ready for
with
it.
the economics,
Yes,
right,
talk to me.
being a big problem in our community, did you notice from even, like I said, back in the 70s when we all came,
Mhm.
that what they call community housing were stacked upon one another in pockets over the city?
Oh.
They more or less created, I wouldn't call it ghettos, because I don't really.
I get to them, do it, man.
It's not as ghetto like, but it's a real ghetto in America
Yeah, man.
and Jamaica, right? And,
Yes.
and other islands, but I mean, it's pretty close to it.
Okay.
So they made these with a purpose. I mean, for example, Jane and Finch, with all these tall buildings and what wasn't housing was cheap and certain people don't want to live there and certain people are forced to live there.
See it.
So a lot of this is created because they don't want us in certain neighborhood.
Yes.
But they did want our labor. Am I correct?
Not
So-
caring where we lived.
We migrate and come here, and they said, yeah, they can work, and work in the factories and drive and, whatever.
Pay taxes and.
nursing and
But you can't live in our neighborhoods.
Exactly. So they created these neighborhoods.
Okay, so I was talking, I'm asking you something, but I guess in an integer because I had to cover my face for a minute there. So I was having this great conversation with Tanya P. And he let me look at this chick. She used to live up I can't remember the name of the community, but I was in there quite often, and up Leslie between Shepherd and Finch.
The Sparrowway.
To Bridget.
Yeah.
Not it. Yeah. You couldn't drive in there after 9 o'clock if you don't live there. And even if you live there, you don't want to drive in there after 9 o'clock.
No, you can drive in there if you're going to buy some drugs. If you're driving in to buy drugs and drive home.
Yeah, man. May I tell you, police are, you know, so the TTC when I was driving, I don't know if it's so now, but after 7 o'clock at night, the TTC didn't drive up Leslie. You know how many people live up there and them did not know the TTC, Toronto Transit Commission. What you are trying to talk to me about urban planning made sure there was no access for those people to have bus transportation. That's just one small part of what you're saying. There's so many hurdles stacked up against us constantly that we stop counting them. And so when I find white Canadians look at me and go, you have the access to nursing, you have the access to a car, you have the access to this, and just like we do, which is not untrue. They don't understand the obstacles daily of what we're facing. And it is, a lot of it is economic, but even with distinct poverty, I'm finding within me, that's not an excuse for me to not try anymore. And the system makes us quit. It makes our children quit.
It's layers and layers of oppression.
Yes,
So it can be education, it can be employment, it can be housing, it can be drug addiction, family stuff. There's layers and layers. And we can deal with just one of those layers, but there's
99 more.
To deal with, right?
Yes.
And we don't have that wraparound support of the 10 mothers, the 10 fathers, the village anymore. It's the worst. But I know that you were going somewhere with this, right? I know you were going somewhere with this about the buildings and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go with that?
Absolutely. I'm saying this is still a situation that we're dealing with even now, right? From when they were built, I think they were built in the late 60s, most of these
Neighborhoods.
community housings,
Yeah.
you know?
Region Park, what
And now I'm not saying it's only our people are in them, you know? But there's certain neighborhoods where it was our people And they have other neighborhoods that have community housing. But if you notice who they place in certain areas, it's well planned.
No, they have a master plan, and you're right.
So,
Right, because what we see, right, we have two gloves here, right? When we look at gun violence and we look at poverty, which part of the city did they see? If we look at Toronto community housing and we look at gun violence, we know that 50-60% of gun violence incidents take place in these neighborhoods. They cut off the services. Public transportation, you're going to cut it off? You got to be joking. You have no respect for the people living there.
Do you think
Right?
do you think that it's immigrants that use most of what do they call it? They don't call it Ontario housing anymore. Housing now in Ontario, it's not. It's not immigrants that use housing more than it's Canadians, white Canadians. Same with welfare, social services.
True.
But
There are more white people on welfare than
listening to the reasoning out there, you wouldn't think so, because they're just looking at what's going on in Toronto, and most of the people that are of color and immigrants that are in Ontario are in Toronto. We don't find a whole lot of us out in the country, you know.
As it changes.
So the,
You wanted to say more though.
Yeah,
You're actually leading him because there's something you need to tell me
I
about
wanted to see
the community. I need to hear.
Look, there's a difference between living in Rosedale and living in Rexdale,
True that.
right? In Rosedale, you don't have to worry about gun violence because you got everything lined up proper for you. You got family, you got education, the same things that you've listed off. Family supports, high expectations, right? Everything is nice. But you go to Rexdale, it's total opposite. Everything is a question mark. So why is it that we have a city where we have this big discrepancy and we're okay with it? So you said it's a plan. It's been set up. But Jules is now saying, well, what do we do to provide hope
Yes, right.
for the youth then?
Because
you look in their eyes.
this information has not changed.
No, like you look in their eyes and they've given up on life.
Long time.
A 15-year-old said to me the other day, he fears living more than he fears dying. I said, fuck you, right? You don't know anything about living, you're still in diapers. He says, fuck you. You don't know what I have to go through every day to survive. 15 years old. And they've tuned out, they've checked out, right? And you look in their eyes, you can see it, right? Why is a 15-year-old carrying a gun? He knows high risk, but they don't mind, because even if they die, they don't care. Right? So our caring for them has to be bigger than they're caring for themselves right now, when they're checking out. But what does our caring for them look like? You give an example in the basketball thing, right? But do we have enough of these people out there going beyond? Because
We
step out
don't.
of our comfort zone.
We don't because we were talking about it before the camera went on. How are we for time? We have, 5 minutes to go?
Keep going.
That will teach you.
No, rest that. No, hold on. I jam it into I know.
Okay, continue.
We can't go on for 10 hours.
You got 5 minutes, so you better make them come.
We're not taught to put back into our community.
True that.
Okay?
I get it.
Now, you know this old comparison about, look at the Indians, what they came here and do, the East Indians. Look what the Asians have come here and do.
Right.
Which is the Chinese. And this one and that one, they come here and they build and
The Italians and the Portuguese and the Koreans.
they come with the support,
Yeah, they do. They come with money from the money.
right? They have their own language. They have their culture intact.
Them have banks.
We're on the coattails of a different language, a different culture. Even our names
See,
have nothing to do with our past and culture.
see.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have to restructure all of that. Marcus Garvey teaching.
Self-sufficiency, self-reliance, self-determination.
You got it. See him?
But we've been hearing that.
We have to become members of a new race. His Majesty teaching.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, spirituality, in the last couple of minutes, I just want to touch on that. Within our community. Need to break away from somebody else's concept. Christianity belonged to the world, but it was the foundation of Judaism Islam and Christianity is in Africa and what they call the Middle East. I don't know what's the Middle East of, but that is Africa too.
It used to be Africa all the time till
They tell them put it
Israel.
up on their map.
okay.
Israel is part of Africa too.
That's what I'm saying.
But the point is that,
Don't go tell them that, you know?
huh?
If you go tell them that, oh, this is what
Well, whether I tell them or not, you know, you can look at the map and see it. It's
You know,
plain to see.
Yeah, it's still in Africa, no matter what you
It's
say
on
to
the
me.
map, bro.
But this is their story.
It's right next to Egypt, and for a while they were telling say Egypt was in Africa too, you know,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But you know, all of that, the whole Bible is a story that was born and manifested in Africa. But the
It's been corrupted.
what it was presented to us after them done take our language and everything like that, so it's represented now in a different form. But thank God, say we had one island of Christianity that had never changed, and one island of Judaism that never changed, as well as Islam, which was Ethiopia, which represented, because what we see now on the map of Ethiopia, Ethiopia was much bigger. It was most of Africa,
Yes, it was most of Africa.
right? And it was reduced to that, and it was held, you know, as a bastion of our culture, untainted. And we thank God for that. So we see now Africa has opened the gates to us. They're starting to realize what's going on too. You know. They are now opening back the gates to us. Now all of us don't have to leave and go to Africa, you know. Africa is here first.
Yes, sir.
See? We are Africans anywhere we're going. We can't hide them look upon we. They never look upon me like in Jamaica. They'll say, oh, Coolie Dread, half Coolie Dread, or Douglas, if you go to another island. Up here, I'm a nigga.
Every day.
Right? And I learned that at 7-year-old when I came in my first day of school. Was a snow job, a ass kicking, spitting on, called me some names I couldn't figure out what I didn't know what it was. Because the school I was coming from had Chinese, white, black, brown, all kind of people. And we didn't see that. I grew up in Kingston and I went to a school called Miss Williams Prep. All kind of people think they go there.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know nothing about
Until you
this.
came to this country.
My first day of school, brethren.
Look what you experienced.
Right at Dan Mills and Shepherd.
And everything was downhill after. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say something, right? Because I know that we're going to do part 2. I'm just setting it up.
3, 4, 5,
But-
yeah.
So right now I talk about the African option. You don't have to go. But we're going to start thinking. Because we've been drinking their Kool-Aid too much. It's making us sick. And we're wondering why we're sick. And then not only that, we're giving the same Kool-Aid to our children, which is the root of the problem. Right?
Mhm.
We have to start. Okay, let me put it this way. I got a size 10 foot. Their shoe is size 5. I've been chopping up my foot trying to fit it into their shoe, and it ain't working.
Yes, sir.
I'm squeezing, it's not fitting in there, right? And the pain and suffering that I have to go through to try to fit into their system is not producing any results. So why don't I just take my size 10 and put it where it belongs? Either build another shoe or find a way. Because I'm not chopping up my... Oh, we've asked our people to squeeze into a system that is not accepting... I spoke about the different layers of oppression.
Mm.
We have to go through that day by day, whether it's the child, whether it's the youth, whether it's the parent, whether it's the grand... Look what they're doing to the seniors, right? Right? We've never had that before. We're trying to fit into a system that ain't for us. So, I know that in part 2 we're going to talk about the African option, because Africa has opened the door, right? And I'm saying to myself, hold on a second. Why am I listening to your version of Africa?
When I can see the real myself.
Yeah, and the next thing